Hello, everybody. Making a little Skyward Sword. Started out as a review, but I kind of started ranting near the end. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on the game because I just played it recently. I've beat it twice. I've played it maybe 3 times. I didn't beat it the second time. I beat it the third time, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it. My current thoughts. I loved it as a kid, but my opinion has changed a bit since then. I'm going to start off talking about the characters and the story, and then I'm going to move on to the gameplay. But the characters and the story are one of the stronger parts of this game. Um, Zelda and Link's relationship is pretty well done. They have good characters, you really get to know Zelda in the beginning, and they actually hang out with each other. And that's something that a lot of Zelda games don't have. Like they actually, like they're actually friends because they spend time with each other. She helps him, like they save the bird together. So their characters are fleshed out, and that's kind of cool to see. Like you see Link's motivation in why he's going through all of this to save. He fights through all these monsters and stuff to save her. And that's just a nice little part of the game is those two characters. But it feels like the story is they try to put the story into the game a little too much, and I'll talk about that later. Um, a lot of other characters fall kind of short. They're just not memorable. Groose is a good character. He has a good development story. He goes from a bully to becoming like a he helps Link. He's like, oh, I can't be the hero, the main hero, but I'll still help in whatever way I can. And that's a cool development to see in his character. So that's nice. But like I said, a lot of the other characters aren't super memorable. Fee is probably one of the more annoying ones. I'll talk about that later. The world is really fleshed out, I'd say. Like the concepts are all here because like this world that they built for this game where they're in the sky and you fly around on the bird and you go around to like all these different parts of the earth, and then you have that's all really well done, I think. um, the world is cool, and then there's like, what is it, there's this sky whale, what is it called, who you meet throughout the game, and it like teaches you a song, and it's all in a cutscene, but it was really cool to watch it, and then like you have to go get the dragons parts of the song, and they all play the song together, and it's a cool moment in the game. And the sky whale, when it sings, it sounds pretty cool. It's like, whoa, and it's like this. It's like the singing from Halo almost, and it's really cool. So that's the story of the game. But I think where the game has its biggest weaknesses is in the gameplay. So obviously like I said, it has a good story, but it's not a movie, like if I wanted a really good story, I could like read a book or watch a movie. And I feel like a good story in a game is always an amazing bonus, but what always dominates over that is good gameplay. And the gameplay here falls a little short, I think. um, so let's just start with the combat, for example. It's like I said, when I first got it, when I was a kid, I was so excited that you could swing the sword around, and like I was like, oh, it's like I'm really holding it. And playing it today, I was honestly just frustrated swinging the sword around, and I felt like the Wii remote was unresponsive, and it was really sensitive to like. It always felt like it was sensitive at the wrong moments, like it would just go in the wrong direction and swinging it, and it just felt awkward and weird. And like every enemy in the game that you fight has some sort of niche to the Wii remote controls. Everything's like it's built around The gameplay is built around using the Wii remote and the Wii remote controls, and it's so weird, and I don't know. I feel like it could have just been better if they had not focused so much on using the Wii remote for everything. There's like this little item, uh, what is it? Like a beetle, the flying beetle, and it's 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 one of the weirdest items because you just fly it around and use the Wii remote to control it like a little tiny plane. And it's kind of funny at first, and it's a cool little item in like the first dungeon, but they're like having you use it in the final dungeon of the game, and like you use it you need it for like key moments of puzzles late in the game. And I think that's where problems really start to come up is because, well, we have the controls for one thing, which can be frustrating and kind of annoying. Like literally every item in the game is catered to the Wii sensor thing, and that, like, you learn how to do that eventually. But even still late in the game, it's kind of weird to use that, and it's just kind of awkward, like holding that for like every item, and And I think I think it'll be interesting to see how it works on the HD version on the Switch, with no remote controls. I think that'll be interesting. But besides that, the thing about the game is that it's easy. The dungeons are, I won't even say the dungeons. The game is just easy. Like there's no it's like looking at old Zelda games, you would have moments where you're just completely stuck and you don't know what to do. And it would take you like forever to figure out what to do. And when you finally do, it felt good because, like you beat a tough challenge. Like you'd be in a dungeon and finally figure out the puzzle, and you're like, oh my, and everything just comes together and clicks together when you finally get that aha moment, that light bulb moment. When you finally do that, it feels really good, and that's one of the amazing things about Zelda games. And this one is just missing so much of that. It's just so easy. You just move forward, press a button, fight some enemies. It and the dungeons in this one, there are two amazing dungeons in this game. And it's the Ancient Cistern and the Sand Ship. Those are incredible dungeons. Those actually I had to think about a bit in them, and they have incredible themes, and they're really good. But those are just two dungeons of the game, and like I really enjoyed those. But a lot of the game was, not those two dungeons. There were like five other dungeons that I didn't have to think a lot to beat. They were easy. But the other thing is that is all the other gameplay that isn't doing that. It's all like you do a lot of back and forth, going from one place to the other just to bring like an item to someone, and it's like delivery missions. Like there's this robot that flies around with you, and you go and like find like items that fell from the sky, and you have to go deliver them. And so you're basically just delivering something. I mean, this is a Zelda game. Like why 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 are we delivering things in a Zelda game? There's no like, and the enemies don't even like attack you when you're doing it. It's like you're just going back and forth. They recycle the three maps consistently throughout, so there's not even new areas to explore. The missions in the overworld, so you have like the grass area, the lava area, and the sand area are just that, like, again, they're just really easy. There's not You just kind of move forward. It's really linear. There's no like puzzles in the way. You're kind of just pushing forward, and you don't have to think too hard about what you need to do for your next step in the game. Um, you're always just moving forward. There's no like, it's like a straight line that you progress in. And then I want to mention the characters again, because they're trying hard to incorporate the story and the characters into the gameplay. So like Fee will always come out of your sword and interrupt you while you're trying to like move along your in the world. And it's not only in the overworld where she interrupts you. it's in the dungeons, and it's just such a stop in the flow of the game, and characters are just consistently trying to talk to you and interrupting you in your adventure, and it's just a little annoying, I guess. There's a dungeon where there's these three like mole brothers who you save in the dungeon, and then they just keep talking and talking to you while you're trying to like I'm trying to play the dungeon and figure out the puzzles. Why am I talking to characters? Why is their story? They're just always trying to incorporate story into the gameplay, and then Fee is consistently interrupting you. And what's crazier is that she tells you what to do, and she just ruins like the challenge to it, because she'll just like be like, "Oh, yep, go this way," or "Oh, I think you should move that block over there," or something. Like she'll just tell you how to beat the challenge, and these characters are consistently just interrupting the flow of you trying to move and progress in the game. And there's some parts of the game which feel like they don't even fit at all into a Zelda game. Like I think there's this part where you have to do challenges for the dragons, and it's the challenge for the water dragon, and you basically have to go collect these like music notes by swimming through water. And like the dragon floods the water, and you have to swim around and collect these music notes. But it was like such a it felt so like it just did not belong in the game. Like it felt like a Mario game almost, or like a Mario something from Mario Galaxy. And it was it just felt so weird. Like and again, it was easy. Like it was another easy challenge. Now the final thing I think I want to mention is the problem of recycling in this game. Um, so they recycle the maps that you go through because you're constantly backtracking through them and going back to places you've already been and going through them like all over again. And then there's also a problem of them recycling bosses, because I, I just want to say the dungeons and bosses are one of my favorite parts of Zelda games. And I think this game has kind of a strong suit in the dungeons. There's like there's three really good ones, and then the rest of them are kind of a little boring. I think the last one is actually worth mentioning, I guess. I think it's called like Skyview or something. But the bosses get recycled too. You fight this Girahim guy twice, and while we're on that subject, he's one of the most frustrating bosses I've ever fought. In his Zelda game, you like swing the sword at him and he catches it, and he's like holding the sword and you can't move and you just get stuck, and it's such a frustrating and uncomfortable fight. And you fight him twice. He's the boss for a dungeon, for two of the dungeons, and there's only like seven of them in the game, and he's two of them. One of them is like a boring like fireball monster, and then like I said, like the bosses are usually one of the best parts of the Zelda game, and the bosses in this are just they're boring. Like one of them is just a giant scorpion. Girahim is two. You fight him twice. One of them is a giant fireball. One of them is incredible, and it's like this giant Buddha golden statue filled with like a evil spirit, and it like throws swords that's an incredible boss. Like that's a great moment in the game. That dungeon, the ancient cistern. But I feel like but that doesn't make up for all the lameness of the other monsters. You have to fight the imprisoned three times, and that's not a that was kind of a boring fight. Tantalus is like this giant squid monster, and it's all right. It looks really weird, but it's an interesting fight, I guess. And and you fight Girahim a third time, not in a dungeon, but you still fight him a third time. And the third time is probably the most interesting fight you have with him. And then I will say the final boss is pretty good. Demise, that's a good fight. He's cool. He's also pretty hard to beat, which I liked. Like that was one of the first times I actually got stuck in the game. I couldn't beat him, and then it took me like almost like 4 or 5 tries, I think, before I finally got it. And and it felt like rewarding to beat something that I was stuck at, and like that was the only. But the thing about the whole game is that like I said, it's too easy. So like the lack of challenge was kind of crazy, and that's why the game it doesn't feel rewarding to beat it.